So I'm Rodney Alejandro. I'm the chair of songwriting at Berklee College of Music in Boston. And I my role here primarily is to lead our 4-year degree program in songwriting. And this is where you come and we start talking about some of these things, like how to express yourself in songwriting, right? How to line up the not only use the language words, but how do you use the music to help emphasize what you're trying to say with the words, with the music, right? So here at Berklee, even though we're in the US and now I'm chair of the department and I speak Spanish, I encourage our students from international destinations to not only practice writing here in English, but also as you develop and learn more of the tools, apply them to your language. So I have students who've come from Sao Paulo. I've had students who come from Mexico, and they write in their language, whether it's Portuguese or Spanish. And we follow some of the similar rules so that we can create songs that people would like to listen to. So while here at Berklee, we kind of break things down, and you take classes just on lyric writing, just focusing on lyrics and all of the tools to that. And the other side of that is you take classes on songwriting, like songs, basically focusing on melody and harmony and all the things that have to do with the music. And then we bring those back together for the last couple of years, where you start just writing songs using all the tools that you learn along with production. Nowadays, songwriting isn't just sitting at the piano or picking up a guitar and writing a song. You have to record it. You have to produce it. You have to create a recording that you can share with people. Yes, you can play it out, in a club or play it out at a venue, but you're only going to reach so many people. You probably want your song to go out to more people. So learning how to record and use the technology for production will help you not only sell your songs to other artists who might want to record the songs, or if you are an artist yourself, then it'll help you get your song distributed out into the world to be heard by other people. Cool. I'm liking seeing some of these answers here on what you like about songwriting and what are some of the challenges. I struggle with knowing when a song is finished. Yeah, me too, still 30 years later, but we're going to talk about how we can figure that out a little bit. Your favorite tools, how you process and express emotions. That's cool. Making feel people feel something challenged. Songs can be repetitive if you draw heavily from my current emotions. Cool. Right on. So yeah, songwriting is all about expressing our emotions. Right? Whether we feel happy and we hear energetic music, or we hear, songs with good, lyrics that make you feel certain things with special words like happy or dancing or feel good, or like, all of these words kind of trigger certain emotions in our and when we're listening to make us feel a certain way. So songwriting and to an extension, song production is all about emotional communication, right? And the music either helps us tell that story. The music helps us tell that story along with the actual lyrics. So regardless of language, regardless of musical style, whether you're doing bossa, reggaeton, pop, baile funk, Afro beats, whatever it is, we're all trying to convey emotion through our music, right? Cool. So I'm going to move forward in our slide here. So I want to talk about songwriting and production and what are the differences and kind of details. What is what? Sometimes, depending on how you approach songwriting, we kind of blend the production with the songwriting. And so we might make a beat, or we might find a piece of music somewhere that we start writing the song to. And now that piece of music becomes a really big identifier to the song. But if you pull them apart, you have to ask yourself, is the song still working without the beat? So we'll talk about that here in a second. So the details of songwriting. Songwriting is about the melody, the lyrics, harmony, and rhythm, right? And we use those kind of four things to help us convey these emotions, right? It's like some of you were talking about, how do you convey your emotions? How do you make people move? Well, the idea is, if I am writing about a happy subject, right? Like, I don't know, in America, the lotto is crazy big. So let's say you win the lotto tonight and you want to write a song. Are you going to write a song that is about this fast and tell people how excited you are that, you won the lotto? I mean, even that tempo's a drag. No, part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the tempo up. It's going to be up here, and I'm going to talk real fast. I'm going to use fast rhythms. So that idea is I'm using the tempo to help convey the emotion of happiness by speeding up the tempo and making it feel like I want to move in some way, right? And the same with melody. The idea of, should my melody be complicated, or does it more simple? Well, remember that most of the people in the world are not musicians. So if we create melodies that most people can sing, chances of our song becoming catchy or people remember it is a lot easier, right? So having an important focus on melody, how complicated, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is to make a simple melody, right? So you got to practice that idea. We were talking about lyrics, the idea that the lyrics should tell the story, the emotional part of the story. Again, if I'm talking about winning the lotto, then I don't want to use words that are like sad or talk about losing or anything that makes you feel bad. I'm going to use words that add to the excitement of winning the lotto. And then, of course, rhythm and harmony. Now, some people say if it's a sad song, you do it in minor. If it's a happy song, you do it in major. But that only goes so far. Earth, Wind, and Fire does a song called September. Very happy, very dancey, and it's in a minor key, right? So it's not necessarily a rule that you have to follow. Major is happy, minor sad. It really ends up how the arrangement turns out, what the feel, what the groove is. So you could have a minor key and still have a dance or up-tempo song, right? So, but there is, if my harmony moves 2 times in a bar, it's going to feel fast. If my harmony moves 1 bar at a time, or my harmony changes every 2 bars, it's going to feel slower. And again, so none of that is a hard rule. It's just, these are tools you can use for your songwriting. Now, here at Berklee, we like to say, especially the songwriting department, there are no rules. There's only tools. These are the tools you use. And you might not use the tools on every song. One song might require a certain type of rhyme or rhythm. Another song might require different type of melodic structure compared to another one. But if you when you're here and you learn about all the different tools available to melody writing or to harmony writing or the rhythmic writing, then you have them available to you when you're trying to express those particular emotions. And the last thing I want to say about what we do here is a thing called prosody. Berklee is one of the only places on the planet that uses this word, and it's basically based on Aristotle's belief that humans tend to accept things when the appropriate relationships align. So I'm going back to expressing my emotions. If I want to express my emotions that I'm happy, I'm not going to use a slow tempo. I'm not going to use sad sounding melodies. I'm going to use happy sounding melodies, happy tempos, so that the relationship of happiness and excitement is translated in how I use the tools of music. So that's prosody. And prosody goes across everything: songwriting, arranging, production, how you present it live, right? So the idea that the more you can make things align and make sense from the songwriting perspective, the stronger the song comes across. Cool. So now the last thing we'll talk about is production. The details of production. Typically, your song should be written when you start to go produce your song. Production deals with the performances, right? What is each instrumentalist performing? Not the part, but what is their performance? We're going to talk about what that part is in a little bit. But when you start writing song and you're trying to get it out, you're starting with the song, and the last thing you're working with on is a production. So production deals with, again, I was saying the performances, how well someone's expressing the music that they're creating, the recording. Are we going to record it in a really nice studio? Are we going to record it in the bedroom? Are we going to use an iPhone microphone? Are we going to use a nice quality microphone? All these things contribute to the emotional expression of the song. Then we get to mixing. Are we mixing it bright and happy, or are we mixing it darker to contribute to maybe the song is about missing your best friend, right? So that might have a softer, it's not going to sound bright. It's going to sound a little bit darker to contribute to the feeling of sadness. And then, of course, the last thing is mastering, is the finishing touches on the project before it's released out into the world, so that people are not turning it down because it's too loud or turning it up because it's too soft. So that's kind of the bookends of getting a song out of your brain and heard by other people. We got to write the song, use all the tools. We got to record the song, perform the song, record the song, mix the song, master the song. That's the tail end of production before we get it out. All right. So songwriting process. Everyone has a different process. And I throw this question out to everyone as well. Where do you start writing your songs? Do you come with a lyric idea first? Do you come with a melody idea first? Do you come with the chords first? There's some people that can sit down, play chords, and all of a sudden it turns into a song. There's some people that program a beat, and that's where that starts, right? So let's see some answers. Where do you start writing your song? With lyrics first. Okay, cool. Lyrics first, sometimes the chords, Ruby says, right on. A musical idea. Aiden, when you say musical idea, it sounds like then you sing a melody over it. So it sounds like you're playing some chords and then you start kind of improvising some melodies. Musical motifs, yeah, that's a very good one. Chord progression, right on. Melodic idea. So as you can see, everyone starts in a different place, but it's all centered around some portion of the song: lyric, melody, chords. So right now there's a lot of, when we say lyrics, I'm thinking that you already have some kind of rhythm in mind or idea in mind. So my question beyond that is, when you start with lyrics first, are you already singing a melody, or you just kind of have poetry and then you try to place it to music? So those of you who answered, you start with lyrics. When you say lyrics, is it already in some kind of rhythmic melody, or is it more poetic and then you're adding it to music later? Lyrics and melody at the same time, as Claudia says. Okay. Sometimes rhythm. That's interesting. Yep, I've done that before. Singing with the melody, sometimes melody, another, and some more poetic. Cool. Poetry first. Right on. Yeah, in a lot of ways, lyrics can be poetry. If we take the metronome out of it, or we take the tempo out of it, your lyrics should read like poetry. And a lot of times when lyrics do read like poetry, like they have a natural flow, it's really easy to place them onto place them in rhythm onto the bar, onto the tempo of a song, right? So what I was trying to get at is when you're writing your lyrics first, you might not have an idea for the melody, you may not have an idea for the chords. But if the rhythm of the words you're writing already start to have a poetic flow, meaning they have a built-in rhythm, then it's going to be much easier to establish them on into the music. So those of you who start with lyrics, if you feel your lyrics are not flowing, I wouldn't even try music yet. Try to get them to flow. So a perfect example would be like if it's we in America, we have nursery rhymes, right? It's super easy. Like Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. There's no music in there. That's just me reciting this nursery rhyme. And it already has a pattern, which, by the way, is a very common pattern in songwriting. 4-3-4-3, which is called stresses. Right? There's 4 stresses. Mary had a little lamb. There's 4 stresses, almost on the beat, whose fleece was white as snow. Right? Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Lamb sure go. Those are all stresses. So the idea is you can create stanzas, lyric stanzas, even without music. Sometimes rap artists will write raps just to a quarter note. Da 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 da. So they're just using rhythm and the click of the quarter note to create rhythmic melody, and then they start filling in words, right? So they're everything once everything starts to align, then they tend to add more music at that particular point. But those are for people who start with lyrics. For those of you who start with melody, right? I tend to start with chords and melody, da 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 da, right? When I have 0 lyrics, I don't know what I'm gonna sing about. I start singing that melody with different vowel sounds, right? So we got A, E, I, O, U, and I tend to aim for some magical part of the melody. So if I got do 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 that was my first line. That just came out right now. So my idea is now I'm going to target those endings with some kind of vowel sound. You say the way you move this way. I just put the A sound in there to see if it felt good. Or I might try you do. Maybe it's the ooh sound, but all I'm trying to do is figure out if it can lead me to any kind of lyric. So this is for folks starting with melody, right? I don't know what I want to say. I don't know what it feels like. Well, just start throwing in the A-E-I-O-U that way. So I don't know what you could say. What I want you to do. You know, I'm just starting to now force myself to come up with lyrics just by using vowel sounds. And it makes no sense in the beginning, right? Because you're just making up words. But if you keep repeating it, you'll find yourself creating phrases, and then you'll spark an idea. They go, oh, that's what it can be, and then you start building around that. So far, so good. Hope so. All right. Going back to some melody. A couple of things. Where we at here? I want to make sure. What's my next slide? Okay. All right. So once you start figuring out your melodies or lyrics, if you get your lyrics in a flow, or you don't have no lyrics and you're doing melodies and you're putting those in a flow, there's what we call melodic phrases or patterns, right? So even as Mary had a little lamb, so Mary had a little lamb, the freeze won't let us know. I just threw that together. I don't know. They made sense. So, right? I'm creating a pattern. And young songwriters always like to be different. Oh, I did this phrase, and I'm going to make a different phrase. I'm going to make a different phrase. But that's making it harder for the listener to remember your song. So you want to create patterns. We like patterns. When we see things where we can almost predict what's going to happen, we're more comfortable. So our songs become more friendly, right? So if I was to go, Da, 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 dee, da, 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 ba, da, ba. You're not going to remember much other than I don't know what he said or what they saying, right? It is very jazzy, no doubt. However, I'd have to be a jazz aficionado to appreciate that. And but the idea is if I create patterns, then I'm more likely to get you to remember my melodies, right? And even if I change it, and I come back to it, if I'm creating patterns and allowing you to come with me on this journey, you're more likely to catch on to the song and sing along with me. So remember melodic phrases and patterns. How you shape your melodies will determine how many good question, Mia. Any ideas how to make a song interesting while sticking to friendly patterns? Yes, the idea around that it comes to like just one the lyric or playing with the melody and offsetting it, right? Let's take watermelon sugar. So this entire chorus is this watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high. That's it. And it's repeated 4 times, 8 times in the last chorus, in the double chorus, right? But the idea is he then begins to offset it by various notes. So watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high. He just changes the very ending of it a little bit, but it's starting the same every single time. So you're kind of getting the same thing, just slightly different. Right. And literally one probably note, 2 notes different, whether you can when you consider the rhythm and or the note choice. So this is how you make something interesting while sticking to a friendly pattern. And once I get into that friendly pattern, now I can start to tweak it a little bit so that I don't lose my listener. I won't give them a whole new thing. I might just change a little bit along the way. But again, 1 note or 2 notes can make a really dramatic difference. So now, all right, so that's melodic patterns. And by the way, most people tend to remember the melody first and then the lyric second. Unless it's super obvious, like Little John's, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's only one word to remember. That's easy to remember. But most times, we remember the melody. We hum along to the melody first. So if our melody can be in a pattern, then it's easier to remember it. And that includes no matter what language you're in, by the way, because music, when you think about melody, that's music. That has very little to do with language. Lyrics are language. Music is a melody part. So this is why K-pop is big around the world. This is why reggaeton and a lot of the Latin music is big around the world. You know, Despacito was a hit in the world, right? Where most people are not speaking Spanish. There's a lot of Spanish speakers, but it was a hit. And, you know, I speak Spanish and I still can't sing the lyric because it's a very hard lyric to sing. And most Spanish people can't sing the lyric because it's a very difficult lyric to sing. But we all remember Despacito. We remember that rhythmic hook of that chorus. We might not get it all the words, but we can remember it. And that's where the melody and rhythmic pattern comes into play. All right. Once we got our patterns, we start thinking about what is our song sections. You know, a very important thing we got to have is a beginning, a middle, and an end of the song, right? We got to create what we call verses, chorus, verse, chorus, and tell this story from beginning to end. These are the kind of the biggest sections in most music today, especially in commercial music today. You got a verse, which kind of, the verse is usually the first thing we hear. So this is where we set up the song, the feeling, that emotion, you know, and the verses is where we give lyrical details. I think someone was making a comment earlier, like, how do you make something unique and expression of yourself or self, even though it's in a similar genre and these kinds of things, right? The idea is about how it's not about that your experience as an artist is not aligned with other people. It's just we all relate to emotion. We all kind of have an experience of happiness. We've had an experience of sadness. We have an experience of all of these ranges of emotions. This is what's common with humans. The next thing is how we tell that story. So this is where your verses and your lyrics become important, because how you tell that stories is what helps define you as a creator, right? Uh, how you express the word, the type of words you use, the where you put them on the beat, all of that is how you express yourself as a creator. But as a listener, I don't know that until I've listened to a lot of songs. So the idea of I got to use the song sections to help not only tell the story of the song, but help define who I am as a creator. So verses are where we give details about a story. I think Sao Paulo's by the ocean, if I remember correctly. So the idea of having been to the beach, right? Uh, Perhaps you've all been near the water, near the ocean. If we write a song about like walking on the beach and I stepped on a bee and it stung my foot, which is true, uh, you might have never had that experience, but you know what it's like to walk on the beach and step on something that might have cut your foot or might have hurt your foot, like a hot rock or whatever that might be. But the fact that it was a bee stung my foot, which is weird, while walking on the beach, that's my particular story. But you would know that I would have felt a little bit of pain if a bee stung me on my foot. So that's what we relate to. So the story in the verse is about details. What's unique details you can tell from your perspective? Then the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is usually one rule of thumb we have here, in the sense of the pre-chorus is used to build energy to the chorus. So you have a verse, then a pre-chorus, and then a chorus. I'm going to play a song. One of my favorite songs that examples this very clearly, and it's called boom. We're going to hear the verse, and then we're going to hear how it changes pace in the pre-chorus and then lands on the chorus. Here we go. All right. So what I wanted to share is like how the pace changed in the pre-chorus. We went from a melodic phrase with space to now all upbeat rhythms, right? We're in the home stretch. Da 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 da. Next phrase. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. That's the verse. It's actually one melody repeated 4 times. And then we get to the pre-chorus. One da 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 da. All upbeats. All change the pace, and then we hit to the chorus. We're in the home. We took when the bones are good, the rest don't matter. Ba da ba 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 da. Again, similar phrasing. There's not a lot of new information. So the pre-chorus helps build this energy to the chorus. And then what is the chorus for? It typically contains our hook. It usually gives us the title of the song. And the reason is because by the time we've gotten to the chorus, the energy of the song, that's the climax. So in that part of the song, we want people to remember, this is the title. This is what I want you to sing. Sing along with me. That's why we call it the chorus, right? And so the main idea is kind of surmised in the chorus. And then some people will put a post-chorus, which means there's a section that happens after the chorus that just kind of reiterates or repeats the main idea, the hook, or the title of the song by itself, just to drive home the point more. And then lastly, one of the other popular sections that's, well, maybe not so popular anymore, but the bridge. The bridge is a chance to get new information. Maybe there's something in the lyric that is left off that you want to add in. Maybe the mood of the song needs to change, and maybe you've been doing a song that's been about a difficult topic. Maybe the bridge can bring some hope. So now when we listen to that chorus again after the bridge, there's new energy to it. There's a new meaning to it. So that's the idea around the bridge. These are like kind of the primary song sections, and how you puzzle them together can help figure out what's the journey of the song, right? So yeah, in some songs the chorus can be very you can have it is a writing trick, by the way, where the verse has an element of the chorus, and when you're doing that, you're selling the song before the chorus gets there, meaning we're selling the chorus before we get there. So we use a bit of element from the chorus in the verse, we tend to kind of like predict it. And if a person likes the verse, chances are they're going to like the chorus. So that is a songwriting trick that we actually, that songwriters use quite a bit. Yeah, when you're in the last section of your song, you can have a different part. So if you think about, you've gone through the verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, you did a bridge, chorus, and then you did a different section at the end. Yeah, that's common to do. That's add that little bit of extra something sometimes that some writers like to add or some artists like to add. Okay, so going back to phrases, there are most popular music today, not all, but in most, they're like 5 melodic patterns, right? That you can use in order to like start writing your songs. And this does not mean these are the only ones or you have to only use these. These are the 5 most common. Okay. So something like each one of these, most music is 8 bars long. And what we call, that's a section, an 8-bar section. That 8-bar section is made up of 4 2-bar phrases. So every 2 bar, there's a new melodic phrase. And so what we like to count is a melody could be in those 2 bars, and that's one phrase. So you'll get 4 phrases in an 8-bar section. If the tempo's really fast, like Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You, it's like 165 or something really fast. Her 8-bar phrase is really 16 bars long. So everything kind of doubles up. But the idea is you get 4 phrases typically in a verse or chorus section. Each one of these letters, A, represents one melodic phrase. So if I have A, that means I'm repeating that melody 4 times in a section. So I'm going to play a song that has that. Same melody, 4 times in a row. All right. So that phrase, Otra Noche Sin Ti, is repeated 4 times on that melody. There's some little fills of the vocal in between. That's fine. But the primary melody is 4 times in a row throughout that whole song. So this is a song by Lagos and Rake called No Se Acabe Hasta Se Acabe. And that's the phrase. But that melody, da, 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 they do it 4 times in a row. The 3rd time and the 4th time, they alter it just a little bit. So this would be an A pattern. Right on? Now, we can have, that's a common one. Many songs do that, where the melody is actually that. Actually, I found a song by a fellow Brazilian artist named, here we go. Let's go. The melody is the same, the lyric changes. So as you can hear, even though that was altered a little bit the last time, it's all based on the same melody. Right? So what we have here, if you can see my screen, melodic phrases. You have A. Now we can alter these. A, right? So here's one again. We're listening to the melody, not the lyrics. Right on. So this was an A melody. And then you can hear A, B, B. These are different combinations of melodic phrase patterns that makes choruses strong and makes verses strong. Right? So alterations don't break the melodic phrase. No, they just keep it interesting, right? Because if I know what's coming and I change it just by one note, that's not annoying. If I change the whole thing, then that can become difficult and challenging and for the listener to remember. So that's melodic phrases. Next is title. Where do we put the title of the song so that people can remember it? You know? So just like there's a certain number of melodic phrase patterns that are typical, there's a certain number of placements for the title that are common. Again, these are not the end all be all. And yes, if you're more singer-songwriter style, not pop, your title might not even be in the chorus. But most commercial songs, most songs where people are listening to, these are the 7 combinations of where the title is, right? It could either be 4 times in a row, like we just heard with Otra Noche Sin Ti. Every single phrase had Otra Noche Sin Ti in it. So that would be a title where there's 4 titles being sang in the phrase. We just heard Dynamite, but if we remember the lyric, dynamite only happens in the last phrase. So in this particular setup, it's like no title in the first phrase, no title in the second phrase, no title in the third, and then the title in the last phrase. So these combinations, the combination of where I put the title, the combination of melodic patterns, that's what helps make your choruses strong, catchy, and memorable. If I'm putting too much information, it's going to be hard to remember. So if I simplify it with melody, melodic patterns, repeat the phrase, chances are people are going to remember it. Let's play this one out. Let's see if you can guess where the title is. The name of this song is called The Business. So let's take a listen to the chorus and see where the words the business happen in the melodic, in the phrase. I'll play it one more time. There you go, Ariel. That's exactly right. The title was in the first phrase and the title was in the last phrase. It was the third one here. T, let's get down to business. Da 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 like this. We've had a million nights like this. So let's get down to business. Okay. So for bonus points, we're going to listen to it again. That was the title. Let's listen to the melody. What's the melodic pattern? I'm going to go back to our previous slide. Yes, the melodic pattern of this song is sitting up on the screen, so I'm going to play it. And then you let us know what it is. Correct. AABA. Correct. So check this out. The melodic pattern was AABA, but the title was only in the first phrase and the last phrase, right? So what I'm trying to say is they don't have to match. You don't have to do an AABA melody, and you don't have to do a title, different line title. They can all mix and match. Right on? So when you start listening to songs after this session, pay attention to how they line up their melodies, melodic patterns. How many melodies are there? They're 1, they're 2. Are they 1 and then varied? That kind of thing. That'll help you pick up songwriting a little faster. All right. Now, between the song, real quick, when I'm doing verses or pre-choruses or bridge, I'm doing the same thing with the melodies, but not the title, because I'm not worried about the title in the verses or the bridge or any of those things. But I am still want to be consistent with melodic patterns in my verses. So after we've done our songs, this is where we get into arrangement. An arrangement is kind of an art form that's kind of disappearing, or we're kind of putting it all in one with production. But the idea with arrangement is to make sure the melody is in the best key for the singer. Some of you might grab your instrument, start writing songs, and you find out, well, I wrote that last song in the key of C minor. I'm writing this one in C minor. I'm writing this one in F minor, or this one in A flat major, all related keys, because we're used to, that's our go-to key. But that might not be the best key for the voice. So part of arrangement is to figure out what's the best key for the melody for the person who's singing it. This is why multiple artists can do the same song and they're all going to be in different keys, because that key, the where they sing the melody, has to match their voice. So this is where arrangement comes into play. Don't just write your song and go, oh, that's it. I wrote my song. I'm good. No, think about it. Can I put the song in a better key to make it sound more emotional even? Then that's the main reason why we look for the best key, to make a song feel more emotional. Arrangement also deal with what instruments are going to play. What's the tempo? How fast? What's the groove? And then what is the arc of energy? What's the drama? What's the arrangement going to tell us? How's it going to support the melody, and how's it going to support the meaning of the song emotionally? So that's arranging. And then the last step we go through is production. Now that I have my song, now that I know what instruments are going to play on that song and what parts they're going to play, what is the production going to be? How am I going to record that? Am I going to use an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar? Am I going to use a real drummer, or am I going to program some drums? What sound am I going after, right? What energy am I trying to create to support the meaning of the song, the emotion of the song? So just because you've written the song doesn't mean you've stopped now expressing the emotion. The emotion has to be expressed in the arrangement. The emotion has to be expressed in the recording and the production process. And the more they add up and equate, the stronger the song is when people listen to it. All right. So this is going to be your assignment coming into Brazil, for those who be there. The idea is going to be, I would like for you to write a song and think about melodic patterns. Think about how I talked about stating a phrase. Am I going to use it 4 times in a row, or am I going to create an alternate phrase so that melody, that verse section has 2 melodies, no more than 2? Do I create a pre-chorus? How do I change the pace and build what happened here? And build I don't know why I went out way. And build momentum to my chorus. And then when I get to the chorus, where am I going to put my title? At the beginning of the chorus, at the end of the chorus, all the way through the chorus? Think about those things and write a song. And then when you come to our session, our workshop, when we're in Sao Paulo, we'll workshop it. You might go, I like it, but it's boring. I need to make a change. Maybe we can workshop it. And I go, just move that note over 1 beat, or maybe take that 1 word out just to make it feel like a surprise. And it's these little micro changes that takes a song to a whole nother level. We don't have to go rewrite the whole thing. We're just changing the thing here and there. And then we'll work on finding a good key for the song. We'll work on making sure it has the energy and the emotion you're talking about, you're wanting to express. But let's start with good. Where did this go? Oh man, let's start over, and I'm gonna have to skip through. Let's start with making sure that you have clear song sections, like you have a verse, pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus, or maybe a verse, chorus, whatever you choose. That's up to you. Then you want to make sure in each of those sections you're using melodic phrase patterns, right? La da 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 da, la da 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 da, dee doo doo, be doo, be doo doo, dee doo, la da 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 da. That was an AABA, right? Create some pattern. And then for the chorus, consider where you're going to put your title. The beginning of the chorus, the end of the chorus, all the way through. What's the combination going to be when it matches your melodic phrases? So work on that. And then when you come to the workshops in Sao Paulo, which I'm excited to be there and come work with you all, we'll take some folks up, listen to the songs. And if you can play them there, that'd be better, because I can ask you to make an adjustment. We'll also talk harmony things, and we'll talk, note choice for the melody. But the idea is I'd like for you to come with the song, and then we can work on the various elements right there in the workshop.
Awesome. Rodney, this is incredible. So much information that you shared and put together. Maybe we could take a few questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll do it in, folks, if you're connected, if you're, we've got Vitor here. If you want to ask your question in Portuguese, we can get it translated. You can ask your question in Spanish, of course. Rodney is bilingual. And of course, you can type your questions in the chat, or you could raise your yellow Simpsons-looking Zoom hand, and we'll pick you out. But what questions do you have about the information that Rodney was able to share with you here? Feel free to jump in. We've got a few minutes time here where we can answer a few questions. Rodney, I love how you get into these tunes and really focused in on these patterns. I think that's it's a critical thing, as like a critical listener, right? To when we're listening to songs, like, why do we like them? Why do they sort of why do they respond? Why do we respond to them? And I think being able to analyze them in that way can be really, really helpful. All right, we got
Nice.
Liaise here. I think let's bring them in. Let's see. Um, why don't you, if you want to, you can unmute and we'll bring you into the session. There you go.
Hello.
Hey, greetings,
My name is
Liaise.
Lais, and I would like to ask about harmonies. Do you have any tips? Because for me, it's the hardest part when I'm writing a song because I don't know. I play some harmonic instruments like piano or guitar, but when it comes to songwriting, for me, I don't know. I can't think about the harmony sometimes, and I would like some tips, please.
When you say harmony, you mean like finding chords for the melody or singing harmony parts?
Finding chords for the melody. Like I think about the lyrics, I think about the melody, but I can't find the chords that match them, and that's my difficult.
Yes. Okay. One way to try this is, do you write music?
Yes, I do.
So one way to do this is kind of like, and this is kind of this is my cheat way of doing it sometimes, right? The note that starts on the bar or nearest to the bar, right? So if I have a downbeat, if that note is like a C, right? And then I see where the next note is. I want to know what key I'm in first. Like, okay, am I in key of C? Am I in the key of F? Maybe. But then I'm writing my melody. I write my melody out for the first 4 bars, basically. And then I find what's on bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and bar 4. And then I try to figure out, okay, so my melody note is a C in bar 1, but it's an A flat in bar 2. So now that's telling me that's going to be either that first chord is either a C minor or an F minor. I try different ones, right? I might even try, if I get really fancy, I might try a B flat minor. I'm sorry, B flat minor, yeah, for sure. Because that A and the C relate to particular keys. So there's only so many keys I can get around. Then I look at my third bar and I go, oh, that note right there, that's a G. So now it's starting to paint a picture for me. So once I've kind of outlined my melody and music on the in 4 bars, I start to now pick around certain chords that could match that bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and bar 4, right? And you can try different flavors, like I was saying. Maybe it's more diatonic. Maybe it's a C minor chord with the C note in the melody. Maybe the second chord's an A flat, and that's an A flat major. And then my third bar is a G. Maybe that's gonna be a G7 and hold for the rest of the 2 bars. So I could start very diatonic, or I could then get it, see how much difference I can make that way. That's one way I try it. The other way I try it,
Okay.
if I don't have music, if I don't have a sheet in front of me, is I sing the melody and I just poke around the bass. I'm not gonna lie. I just poke at the piano until I find where does it sound like it feels home, right? Especially the first note of that melody. Where does it feel home? And when I find that, then I start building around that. It's not super scientific. And the reason why I do it this way, mind you, I went to Berklee, I studied all the harmonies, like jazz and crazy out harmonies. However, I want to trust my ears, right? I don't want to trust the theory. That comes later. Once I figure out what my ears feel like, the melody feels good with the harmony, then I can use all the other fancy stuff to make it more exciting in that way. But I always try to use my ears first.
Okay, that's real nice tips. Thank you so much.
Sure. Nia, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I found it really interesting. You guys can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I find it really interesting that you're bilingual. So my question is, any tips on how to incorporate more than one language in a song and
Yeah,
still make it make sense,
sure.
melodically speaking?
Well, that's the beauty of music, right? We can kind of the words we put on it, we just have to make sure that the words we're going to use from a different language make sense, right? So If I took the song we played earlier, Otra noche sin ti, another night, you know, how do I put that together? Another night without you, right? So the idea is I got to find the alignment. The thing that's important is that the melody stays the same, and you got to make sure the words that you're going to use from the different language land in that same space. That's very important. If I have 5 notes and that are in Portuguese and I'm going to go to Spanish, I got to use 5 notes, maybe a 6th one, but I can't change the melody too much because then that kind of throws the listener off, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of translating. And when you're doing translation, if you're just using it in another way, then you have to decide which language is your primary language. And then the secondary language, you can slip it in, but it still has to be, make sure it's aligned on the beat the right way. Meaning Spanish, English, Portuguese, our words have accents, right? So if I say Alejandro, right? The accent is on ha, Alejandro. Alejandro, Alejandro. I'm putting the accent on the strong beat. If I put it off the beat, it's not gonna feel right. So Alejandro, Alejandro, it don't sound right. So I want to make sure when I'm mixing my languages that I'm putting the accent in the right place so that as it sings through, it's like, oh, that's Spanish. And especially when it's close, like Portuguese and Spanish and French, they're all, you know, they can be close, that you're clear with where you're putting the accent so that when the listener knows you switched.
Exactly. That's what they use in K-pop songs typically, because you can see that they're singing in Korean, and then all of a sudden you have like this English phrase, and it just fits perfectly. And I never thought of how can I incorporate it in my songwriting. I've done a couple of songs where in my verses I'm saying something in Spanish, but then I put in a little phrase in English, but I'm always scared that it's out of line. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I think it's the, you know, a lot of artists are switching. Caliuchis, just saw the one of the songs I just did with Lagos and Rake. They're used one phrase in English, actually. So it just slotted right into the phrasing, making sure that the language aligned with the melody that we were hearing, and then it fit perfect.
He put the accent in halfway in Correr, right?
Yes.
There's another artist that uses like double language is Yomiko, but
Mhm.
she does rap, which is I think that's a bit more
Yeah, that's super challenging.
complicated. But she does it very slightly, and it just go with the flow. It even helps
Yeah.
it.
And even just to switch like that mentally, sometimes it takes practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so much.
yes, very doable. Yeah. Ariel.
Okay, hi to everyone. I will ask you that how would I express the title of a song if I'm not using lyrics, like in a soundtrack or something like this?
How do you express the emotion when you're not using lyrics?
Yes, of
Cool.
course.
I'm gonna play. I always like sharing music because it's the way to share this idea, right? So, this song. Before I tell you the title, I want you to tell me what you think it might feel, what it might be about emotionally. Or how about this? Tell me if the emotion is happy, sad, longing. What do you think it is? One second. Here it is. What does that melody make you feel like? Just think.
Yeah, I think at first it was like an adventure song, and also like that turns to a passionate song could be. And I think it was super romantic and all of that stuff, I think.
So the name of that song is "We Ended as Lovers," and actually that song has lyrics, but it was more popular as without the lyrics. And the idea is Stevie Wonder wrote that song called "We Ended as Lovers," and the person that we're listening to play it was Jeff Beck, an amazing guitar player, right? But that whole that whole kind of the way he expressed the melody was to create this feeling of longing, and not necessarily sadness, but a romantic longing for a person that is no longer with them, right? So um melody is the one of the most powerful ways to express emotion, right? If I want to, again, if I want to express something exciting, I might have a lot of movement in the melody, a lot of rhythm, maybe a leap, even exciting leap in the, bum 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 bum, that kind of idea, without, to create this big energy or energetic lift. So it's really a lot. You can tell that story with melody. uh and this is why in some ways here in campus we have songwriting courses where you can't write the lyric. You got to write melody that expresses the emotion you're going for. So one way to do that is just practice. And sometimes we have them write the lyric and then take the words off and make the melody musical. Right? How would a violin player play that if it had no words? To see how we can get the melody by itself conveying the emotion. So it's a little bit writing backwards. So write lyrics, what you wanted to say. Now take the lyrics off, play the melody, and make it musical, so that it's has the emotion that the lyric is detailing the words. I hope
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
also I have a little detail that I think, like, I have an example of a song, like Cornfield Chase, a song by Hans Zimmer, is the soundtrack from Interstellar, and I think like that song doesn't make sense, or what you feel doesn't make sense with the main title of the song. Like Cornfield Chase is not like love or something like that.
This is from Interstellar. Did you say the movie, or it was a movie?
Yeah, from Interstellar.
Well, that's a very, I mean, that's Hans Zimmer too. So and Interstellar is an amazing movie. There's so many kind of when you think of consider the movie, the idea of, traveling through space, through a time continuum, that's already out of the normal of reality in a lot of ways. So in some ways, when the composer's approaching this way, like, okay, what can I write that's kind of out of the norm of reality? You start bending the rules at that point to match the movie, right? If the music was like more into reality and the movie, I mean, the music was about more reality things, but the movie's still about traveling to space and going through time, and he's, visiting his daughter when he was still with his daughter, that's some mind-bending thing that the music has to match the feeling of what we're seeing. So in some ways, that's part of the rule breaking right there for Hans Zimmer. Brilliance of matching the overall theme of the movie in pieces of music throughout the movie. So
Yeah,
good,
thank
good
you.
observation. Yeah. Okay, hi Mia, go ahead.
Sorry if I'm asking a lot of
No
questions.
such thing.
I'm very interested. Before you said the title of the song, well, before you said the artist, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, I like it. But then you mentioned it was Stevie Wonder's, and it clicked to me that actually that's very Stevie Wonder like the song. So it came to mind. As a songwriter, you as a songwriter, do you have any tips on making your songwriting recognizable like that?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it's songwriter's job is to be a chameleon, right? My if I'm not an artist, I'm not, there's only so many things I can do to have my signature thing. Like, I know a Sia song when I hear one, because Sia writes a certain way all the time, right? However, I might not always know Max Martin. I might not always know Edgar Varela. I might not always know certain songwriters, because their job as a pure songwriter is to feel the artist's goal, the artist's dream. Stevie Wonder is an artist, a singing, performing artist, along with being a songwriting artist, right? So we really get to hear his style a lot more because he also sings his own songs. And when he writes for other people, or actually, does songs and gives them other people, you can tell, oh, Stevie wrote that, right? Because we know him as a performer. But most songwriters who are not performers, who don't put out their own music, but write songs for other people, it's really hard to tell because that songwriter's job is to help that artist sound like whoever they are, right? If I'm writing with Olga Tañón, I'm not Olga Tañón, but
Exactly.
Olga Tañón has a style. My job is to match that style, write a song for her that she loves. Thank God she did.
So, would you say that it's better not to have a signature thing? Or, I mean, I'm guessing it's better to have a signature songwriting style if you're a performer, but if you're not, then be a chameleon, right?
It's pretty much what, if you want to work a long time, yeah, you tend to be more of a chameleon as a pure songwriter. If you're a songwriter and an artist, yes, then you do need a more signature sound and style. When you take Taylor Swift, what are all her songs about, right? Girl things. That's the theme around her, right? She doesn't write songs for me, an older gentleman. She writes songs for my daughters who go to the stadiums and watch the shows, right? Who does Ed Sheeran write songs for, right? When you're an artist, you tend to have the band that I was in. We wrote songs about breakup all day long. That's we toured the world doing songs about breaking up. So in the end, when you're an artist, you have a very narrow lane of what you can talk about, and you end up having a signature theme, certain themes you sing about all the time, uh, and then a certain sound. But when you're a pure songwriter behind the scenes, you're more of a chameleon.
Does your songwriting stick to more of what you know, or do you venture out things that you have never experienced but you want to write a song about that?
You know, they typically say write what you know, but imagination is a very powerful thing and wonderful thing. I may not need to have experienced a specific thing a certain way, but if you can describe it to me enough, I can perhaps, because I have not experienced it, come up with a different perspective that might be interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. That I think it breaks the phrase of artists need pain to write songs or make good songs. I don't know. I hear that a lot.
I don't know. I would like to pretend on the pain part, but yeah, no. You know, you tend to do right from because we're human, we're expressing our emotion, but we also have happy emotion. We like going out with our friends and having a good time. There's an emotion to an express in a song as well. And actually, most big hits are around having fun.
Exactly. Also, I'm guessing you can use empathy a lot for
You
your
can, absolutely.
songwriting. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Rodney, this has been amazing. Great questions that we've had here, and I'm mindful of the time. It's been a really informative session. I know that your department, the songwriting department, and you yourself, you're actually doing quite a bit of teaching in different modes as well. Could you talk a little bit about the work that you do at Berklee Online? You also are teaching in the master's program. You also have a summer program as well. Can you just kind of like share a little bit of that so that folks have they know different ways that they can connect in with the teaching that you and your department do?
Yeah, here's songwriting. We have several programs. We have the normal college year, like most places do, through from September to May. Then we also do summer programs. We have a summer songwriting workshop that's 1 week in June, and it's super intensive, all day long songwriting classes. We bring in guest artists, guest songwriting artists. Some of them are performers, some of them are just behind the scenes songwriters to talk about their process and what they do. Then we also have the 5 week program at Berklee. It's typically a performance program, but we've carved out a lane for those songwriters who want to perform their own songs. So you can come to 5 week and take the performance classes centered around writing your own song. So the assignments are write a song about this idea, and then you're going to perform it at the end of the week. So that's songwriting. That's a 5 week. Berklee Online, we have songwriting courses online that are similar to what's happening on campus, where we do lyric writing, songwriting, production classes as well around songwriting. Then in Berklee NYC, I've been able to go down there and teach for the master's program. So let's say you college down there, wherever you are in Brazil or Mexico, and you feel like you're ready for a master's program. Berklee has an intense 1 year program in New York City, at a very famous studio that Berklee's now taken over, called the Power Station, and it's a 1 year class, songwriting and production. For 1 year, you study more songwriting, you study production, you use a beautiful studio. You're in New York City where the industry has a base. So it's a really great program to dive into. Should you consider a master's in music?
Awesome. So I just added all those links in there for everybody that's connected. And obviously, you can Google all that. And before I turn it over to Bree, I wanted to share this. Obviously, folks, you should connect with Rodney online. He's on social media. Go to his website. You can learn a lot more about his incredible background, the professional work that he's been doing, and then obviously dig into the songwriting department at Berklee. And remember, for those of you that are going to be joining the team here in Brazil, Bree, you want to share a little bit more about your visit to Sao Paulo and Conservatorio Sousa Lima?
Yeah, absolutely. So myself, Rodney, and Patrice, who presented our first session, if you joined us for that one last week, we're all going to be coming to Sao Paulo in just a couple of weeks. So we're going to be presenting 2 days of sessions and a concert. It's going to be really exciting at our global partner, Sousa Lima. You can see all the details here. There's going to be a clinic with Patrice. There's going to be an information session if you want to learn more about Berklee and the different pathways to study at Berklee. And then the next day, we're going to do a follow-up workshop with Rodney here, get to meet him and work with him in person. We're going to talk about careers in the music industry with some faculty from Sousa Lima. And then there's going to be a concert in that evening. So if you scan this QR code right here with your phone, that'll take you to the registration page. So you can register for all these events. They're totally free. And we're really looking forward to coming in just a couple of weeks to meet everybody.
Yeah, this is an amazing thing, Rodney, for you to be able to connect with all of these musicians remotely and ideally be able to see a few of them in person and be able to workshop their tunes. Obviously, we're going to be in Sao Paulo, and then, for folks, I see some folks from different parts of the world here as well. And if you want to know where Berklee is going to be in the world, follow us on social media at Berklee Global and at Berklee Espanol. We are going to be, Bree and Rodney, we're going to be in Brazil. We're going to be in Seoul, Taipei, Kuala Lumpur, Paris, a few other places before the end of this year, and then a number of other places as we get into the new year. And so follow us on social media so you can learn where we're going to be, where you can connect in with people like Rodney, people like Patrice, and the rest of our team. We'd love to see you in person. We'd love to hear your music and play music with you. And obviously, we'd love for you to be like Victor here, who's an upper semester MP&E student. Victor, thank you for joining us and supporting this event. I know it seems like everybody was pretty comfortable with the language, but it's always great to have a Berklee student as part of the fold connecting. So without further ado, we're going to wrap things up here for our second Berklee Unlocked session for this year. Thanks for joining us. And Holly's joining me, and she's saying that it's time for us to wrap up. All right. So thanks, everybody. Rodney, Victor, Bree, thank you all for a great event, and we'll see you all on the road. Take care, everybody.